Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, check in daily, all three channels. There's going to be some times that we are able to get up a bunch of videos. There's going to be other times where we're going to be not able to get up as many videos. Just want to let you guys know ahead of time. So, we do our best, try to keep you updated on all the channels. But just like you guys, we're making our preps, and it does feel like it's final prep time, pretty much, before the big storm hits. So make sure you subscribe to Evolutionary, EEARTS, and Heart's Home, the newest channel. And again, there's quick links. See this, like right over here. Come over here. See over here? You could just reach any of the other channels by clicking these little icons as well. You can get us at Patreon and Ko-Fi by clicking those little icons that are right there. So everything is really, really easy. And then if you click the drop down on any video, that will also give you the links to not only the subjects we're talking about, but also to any of our other channels, including Brighteon, Bitchute, Rumble, as well as Patreon, Ko-Fi, and our website. So I already noticed on the last video that we put out, the buzz is the Restrict Act. This is one of the buzzes. There's a few other things we had in mind that we wanted to address as well. What is the Restrict Act? According to Joshua Reed, it's a complete nationalization of digital information, data, and digital transaction. It's literally 1984 on crack. Yeah. And we see it's a massive violation of our Fourth Amendment rights, complete nationalization of the internet. Keep in mind the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that they want us to resemble what's already in place over in the fine dining ware country. So anything that's going to take us in that direction is a step in the direction that the controllers want us to take. When we looked at the Patriot Act, how unpatriotic can you get to police your citizens to that high degree? Well, that's the whole purpose. This is the whole purpose. And everything that we see, all these conflicts between nations are useful tools in the furthering of the agenda, which is keeping the slaves in line.
Unfortunately, we are one of their biggest useful tools as far as keeping everything in line, because we continue to agree with these stupid rules and we're not pushing back hard enough. And I think our dollars really kind of represent a kind of freedom that we want. So being very mindful of what you spend your money on, or who you work with. I think moving forward, we really need to take a closer look at that, because once these things go into effect, I have never, ever, ever seen anything ever be undone. Never.
No, they never go backwards. They never reel things back. They never repeal things. All it leads to is a much larger Big Brother network. So again, this is all in the remaking of the entirety of our global society into what you see right now in the fine dining ware country. And even that, what is underway there and already in progress there, will keep going to an ever higher degree of complicity. This is how you have the extreme few controlling the masses. So be very, very mindful of this. Of course, if you go and you look about Restrict Act, you're going to see there's going to be fact checkers out there left and right. Several readers act how the Restrict Act could possibly affect VPN use. And here's what they can verify. So what they bring up is that there's no direct wording there against using a VPN. But if you look at the broader part of what the text brings into effect, it definitely could fall under there. And the penalties are severe. So this bill in Congress, called the Restrict Act, has made headlines recent months over claims that it could result in a ban on TikTok. Now, I don't know. I have an aversion to TikTok. I can't stand TikTok. It's just the whole concept of TikTok to me is everything that's wrong with this society. For one, it does come out of the fine dining ware country. So obviously, it can't have all sorts of bugs and things in there that's going to track you from their perspective. But besides that, it's all about shorts, short and brief. Again, humanity, part of the reason humanity can be so easily controlled is because our attention spans are so tiny. Tiny, like a goldfish. Talk about monkey mind. Calming the monkey mind is a term that's used in meditation. You got to calm the monkey mind. Monkeys have a lot more intensity of focus than the average person does in this age. I wish that humanity had the attention span of a monkey, because it's the fact that we can't sit still. We can't, slow down and see what's happening, take time to digest things. No, we got to click from one thing to another, to another, to another, because we have no patience. And we have no patience to do, and unfortunately, most people out there don't have the patience to do real research and to figure out what's happening. They're just curious as to what else is happening in whatever their single-minded focus is, whether it's, Beyonce or I don't even know who is out there in the public realm nowadays as far as celebrity figures, because I can't look at a celebrity figure without needing a barf bag like I'm going to a horror movie. It's just the true reality of it. They're so part of this matrix. It's just vile. Everything about this society that we have out there, and that is intruding to every aspect of our life, is just disgusting. Again, this is part of that big separation. So yeah, I don't really want to watch anything on TikTok. No desire to. It just feels nasty to me. So again, it's not really about TikTok, though. It's about our ability to communicate to each other. And so, here, using TikTok as saying it's a tool of communist China coming to get us. Yes, well, it probably is. Yeah, it probably is. But there's a lot more tools of communist China that are affecting us right now. I mean, there's one in Casablanca as we speak. Again, it's all part of the bigger picture. It's a useful tool to cause more restrictions on our ability to say anything against the regime. Look at what's happened in Canada. Look at what's happened in Australia and New Zealand with the people's ability to literally speak up against their governments. This is what they want globally. There is no questioning the government, any government. And the reality is the veil will be pulled away, and the illusion of all these separate governments will be gone, because they are just, the separation and the constant warfare is just a tool. It's only a tool to police humanity. So, again, these conflicts are very useful. The Al-Qaeda, the terrorist around there in the dark, that's going to come and get us. And again, when we look in deep into 9/11, the World Trade Centers, if you really look closely, you could see it was all telegraphed way before it happened. In fact, the Project for a New American Century talked all about that before it happened. Need for a new Pearl Harbor. I mean, it's all out there in writing. And when we talk about Pearl Harbor, they knew it was going to happen. They let it happen because they wanted to go ahead and get the war going, bring the U.S. in. It's all about shifting their control base of operations from one place to another strategically. As Sassy's really getting irritated with the system herself. She can't take it either. She's just like, I got to speak up here. It's getting too rough on us. Rough, yes.
Really rough.
If we look at it, the sinking of the Lusitania, the sinking of the Titanic with certain bankers on there, including the Astor family. All these things, there are no mistakes. Everything that we see is completely orchestrated, purposeful, and is all about bringing in a greater sense of control. Now, the fact is, and this is the bill, this is the text, read it for yourselves. Instead of, and this always boggles my mind too, instead of going and listening to a video that talks about it, why don't you read the text yourself and see what's in there? And I've spent a lot of time reading boring text. But yeah, when you get down to it, and Cindy will tell you, I'll be like, holy crap, it really is in there. with numerous ones, including a text that came up in Florida in 2019 that got us in a lot of trouble on Evolutionary that we shared. And now we know why, because 6 months, 7 months later, oh yeah, the whole world changed forever. And we were talking about it before it happened. We didn't know exactly what their plans were. But again, they're always trying to maintain their control grid. The fact is, when we look at what can happen with this, you can have a $250,000 fine, and it can go up to a fine of $1 million and jail of up to 20 years. That's big for any sort of infraction in this text. And again, they're what they want is nobody can go against the narrative. This is the bottom line. The left and the right, those are useful tools. Capitalism, communism, it's a useful tool. It's all basically tools that are used against humanity in general.
Mm-hmm. And one of their favorite things to do is put things out there and give you the reasoning behind it. And it's always about distraction, distraction, distraction. And then people are looking at this one thing and they're thinking it's something else. And that's going on right now. I mean, really, really bad. They're putting people in the spotlight and glorifying them and then saying, oh, well, what's wrong with this and what's wrong with that? But if you really look behind the curtain and if you look behind the scenes, there's a lot wrong with it. So they're trying to push through a lot of things right now that are really not good for us personally on so many levels.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's all about taking away the illusion of freedom. The illusion of freedom will be over. Not too far off. It's getting closer all the time. And the reality is, again, it's an attack on humanity and the natural order of things in every way, shape, or form. This is interesting here. Look, you could listen. You could listen in. Isn't this nice? Congress.gov is giving us the ability to listen to information.
Text may be missing or may be shown by tags, for example, deleted or bold, or may be missing from TXT display.
I don't know about you, but I'm so tired of listening to these computerized voice messages. That's the AI, and again, this is ultimately AI imposing it's AI jailing humanity. This is the bottom line. It's AI controlling, utilizing humanity as a tool. And again, this might sound crazy to some that haven't done the research, but it's not even about just planet Earth. This is something that is so big, so vast, and truly, it's a war beyond biblical proportions.
Mm-hmm. And it's moving up to the forefront, and everything is becoming more and more clear. And always keep in mind that everything that they put out there, just do reverse it or inverse it. Call it what you will, but look at the other side of it, and that's your truth.
So again, they don't want you using a VPN. They don't want you being able to hide and be anonymous and just speak up anonymously. They want to know who is saying what. And then if you speak up, or, even if you are not really speaking up, perhaps in a way that's really going to incite some sort of rebellion, it's just the fact that if you say anything that goes against the status quo of the system, the system will and can take effect and take control and literally punish you. We saw Putin is part of his draft bill. Again, isn't it funny that part of the draft bill is you can't buy or sell. You can't own anything. You can't even drive. In other words, they want to make you absolutely miserable. They want to, your choice is going to be conform or be one of those that lives in a homeless camp somewhere in a tent. If you're lucky, you'll get a big tent.
And really look closely at the control grid. I mean, there's some very basic pillars of the control system. And one of the biggest ones is our religious system, our belief system. Then there's the medical system. And then there's the educational or indoctrination system. And then there is, of course, the monetary.
And it's been a little bit since I brought it up, but Genesis 11 tells everything. The whole world had one language, one common speech. Now, some people will say, oh, no, you misunderstand. That was under the system like we're under now. No, you misunderstand. This is the controllers. This is how they control. As people move eastward, they found a plain in Shinar settled there. They said to each other, come, let us make bricks, bake them thoroughly. Let us use bricks instead of stone and tar for mortar, and let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so we can make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be scattered all over the face of the whole earth. And that sounds so ridiculous to be presaging what happens later. And, obviously this is not the original language. Again, everything we find in the Bible is a revisionist version for the most part. There are some truths in there. There are some nuggets that are golden, but there's so much distortion in there that it creates a paradigm that brings us back down into that slavery, into that whole concept of needing a savior because, Eve ate an apple and she was told not to. That's how anybody can believe that is well beyond me in this day and age. Again, but then people did trust in the science. People do still believe in politicians. But the Great Awakening. But now again, when we see Lord, the original term is, the oldest original term is Elohim. Now the Elohim themselves are being misrepresented here again. They're using it in reference to Mighty One, but not Elohim as in, say, the stars and the heavenly powers that be. They're referencing it more. We would be closer if we just translated it Anunnaki or the Draconian controllers. They came down. That's your clue. We're not talking about down in vibration per se. We're not talking about coming from heaven. Well, we're talking about coming from the sky to see what the tower the people were building. And if the powerful one said, if as one people speaking the same language, they begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Why would that be a problem? If people working together could achieve such great things, why would a benevolent creator not want that? Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they won't understand each other. And then they were scattered all over the earth. And they stopped building the city because the Mighty One scattered them everywhere. Yeah, absolutely. But if you just look at this, you really don't have a clue. You have to look at other texts all around the world. And then when we look to the Vedic texts from the Hindu tradition, we see these wars of extraterrestrial beings happening right in front of us. This is what it's referencing. And it's referencing these wars of some benevolent beings that teach humanity, hey, source is within you. This is all an experience for your soul growth. You're not going to go into eternal torment, but yes, you can create some negative karma that might take lifetimes to work through. And then another group that says your whole purpose is to worship me and do what I say because you're slaves. Pretty obvious which side of the line the control grid of this planet is serving.
Mm-hmm. When we look at the Bible and we look at the Vedas, the Bible uses usually one word, Lord, or they use the word God. But if you look over in the Vedas, Vedic scripts, they at least they name their gods, and they're not keeping it a secret, and they're not being cryptic about it. When you see the word Lord, you have to ask yourself, when you're looking in the Bible, always ask yourself, and this is if you're on an awakening journey, which Lord? Which Lord? Because they mean there's several different kinds. It's not like they really mean that there's only one. That's just a fallacy.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you go deeper, then you go into the biblical texts, and you have the Elohist texts, and this is on a scholarly level, and scholars will talk of this, but the average person doesn't have a clue that it's recognized that there's Yahwist, Elohist, and there's the priestly caste, Deuteronomist, of texts where God is depicted in slightly different ways, but different names. The average person doesn't have that knowledge, but it's out there. It's totally out there. It's so clear. And people don't understand that because all they've gotten is what they've been told. Recognize too that the Bible, for the longest period of its existence, was something that the public couldn't read. They weren't allowed to read. It was written in Latin. You weren't supposed to read it. We're going to tell you what it says.
All right. Everything has great purpose. When it does come to our primary belief system, which is the Bible, they hand you this one book and they say, okay, don't look outside of these and just know that this came from the source of all. But then once you do start to look around, you realize, hey, this is the same story came over there. This story was, from 20,000 years ago. This story was from 10,000, and they're all, it's like you finally quickly understand where the copycat comes from, and then you start asking questions. But they really are so good about getting people at a very young age, and they tell them, if you believe in this other thing, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. And that's just not nice. That's really not nice. That's terribly abusive, and they've abused our children for long enough.
Yeah, and you have this Yahweh and his consort Asherah that develops. Consort of Yahweh? Just one God. How does he have a wife or a partner? There's depictions again. So, and these are older than anything else we have concerning Yahweh. So, again, it's part of what becomes accepted, but what becomes accepted is not what is closer to the truth. So, again, it's total misunderstanding, and the unfortunate problem is people with their TikTok mentalities don't have the mental endurance, unfortunately, to actually do the work and go and figure out what is it really telling me. No, they just vehemently say, well, this is what I was taught, so it must be true because I trust my pastor, I trust my mom, I trust my dad. And again, has your mom and dad ever been wrong? Has your pastor ever been wrong in their life? And I've had debates going back to when I was basically a young kid with Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons that would come knocking on the door, and they would say, do you know Jesus? And I would say, do you? Come on in, guys. Let's sit. I'm going to make some coffee.
Yes, that's definitely a fair question. And then wouldn't you want your mind opened by wonder and curiosity instead of being closed and shut down by a belief system?
Yeah. Did God have a wife? And again, it's all right out there. It's all right out there. You just got to look at it. Christianity that's there today is just a tool of the controllers. Islam that's there today is just a tool of the controllers. Is there something that's a root in there that feels right? Absolutely. Because I'll tell you, a lot of the texts come from older texts that do have truth and validity in them, but they've been distorted. So you can feel and sense there's something good in there, and there's something wonderful in there, and there is a loving God in there. But again, when Yeshua confronted, and he did, some of the stuff in the Bible about Yeshua is true. Most of it is a distortion and not. But when he did confront the moneylenders, yeah, he really did have a fit. He did overturn tables. He did, because again, that's how they control us. He fought to overthrow the power system. He wasn't a blood sacrifice. That's the controller part of things. And also when he told the religious authorities at that time, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, get behind me, Satan, because, your father is the father of bloodshed and violence and everything evil. Absolutely. That's the draconian grid that we're talking about. This is the Anunnakian. And when we say Anunnakian, we're really referencing what we would call fallen Pleiadians that fell in battle to the draconian Borg collective and did take the AI nanotechnology into their being, and now they are part of that hive mind under the control of AI and the draconian energies. So they are no longer free Pleiadians. So beware, because some are out there, unfortunately, just like Hitler was dealing with some quote-unquote Nordic aliens. Yeah, the ones that are given, the weapons of war and talking all about these type of things of death and destruction and control and helping to keep humanity divided, they're already fallen. They've fallen in battle. They've given into the draconian AI Borg collective, and they've embraced the nanotechnology flowing through their bodies, their energy bodies too.
Mm-hmm. And once you pull back the curtain and you realize it's just some little guy really pushing buttons and pulling strings and telling stories, then everybody goes through this phase where, well, gosh, I feel I've been had. And then you question yourself, well, what about all this other stuff that I've been learning? I've been had. And it's actually a traumatizing phase in many people's lives, because they don't trust themselves anymore, because they've seen all this information and they see it's been reversed and it's been twisted. So it is kind of a path that we all have to walk in an individual basis, and support each other too, because there's going to be different perspectives on things, but always recognize when the control system is coming in and coming down on you, and you're probably going to feel that little bit of searing pain if somebody says something that goes against your belief system, and just stop at that and recognize it and feel through it and try to understand what it is, because this is our journey and it's been hijacked, for long enough.
So there is something called the Great Rift in astronomy, a complex of dark nebulae that seems to divide the bright clouds of the Milky Way galaxy lengthwise through about 1/3 of their extent. And this is talking about that Great Rift as we see that there. That's a sign. It's really, it's caused literally by the galactic war that has been ongoing for such a long time. This is a scar of that war in front of us. We talked about whole planetary systems that have been destroyed. This is what you're looking at, is the destruction of this draconian AI grid. This is not their only conquest. When we think in terms of what are we fighting, one of the things people in this day and age could probably relate to is, it's like we're fighting the Sith. It's really is much more like Star Wars than you would imagine.
Mm-hmm. And it's a system that I completely do not agree with or anything, because of the predatorial nature of it all. It's just wrong.
As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Much love. There is a creator, and that creator is a benevolent being. So when Yeshua is referencing God is love, there is a creator of this universe. There's creators of other universes too, and they are different from the creator of this particular universe. Yet there is ultimately one source behind all things, of which we are a part, and that source is residing in you right now.
And source bless and namaste.
Namaste.